Go. Oh, hello there. My name's Paul Fletcher, and today we'll be discussing East of Eden by John Steinbeck. The book was published in 1952 and is considered one of Steinbeck's greatest. The setting of the story spans 50 years in the continental U.S., but a majority of the book takes place near the turn of the century in the Salinas Valley in California, where Steinbeck grew up. It is also important to note that the book has some important connections to two biblical stories, the first being the Garden of Eden and humanity's fall from innocence, and the second being the story of two brothers, Cain and Abel, where Cain murders Abel out of envy that God likes him better. That is it for context.
I'm Tom Wallace. Within East of Eden, there's many themes, such as the fight between good and evil, paternal love and rejection, and choosing your own path. And East of Eden is also full of daddy issues, which we lead to paternal rejection and love, where each father foretells preferences within their children, which no parent should ever do. But as a result, their children feel this sort of displacement. They feel as if they're not wanted. And they feel this disapproval by offering them sort of gifts or offerings, both on their birthday, which I find symbolic to Cain and Abel, when Cain and Abel both offered up their sacrifices to God, and God was of course more pleased with Abel. Which also brings us to the battle between good and evil. Stated previously, they're not the very best of people, going out, marrying prostitutes. They're not very good people to begin with, especially when Cyrus decides to basically steal a bunch of money for his sons to squander. And they've always been tied to this really bad. They're always tied to it. And the Salinas Valley is the perfect place from which they struggle with it. Kathy, being the absolute devil that she is tempted and eventually does abandon Adam, shooting him, and then abandoning him, of course. You gotta shoot him first. And then becoming a prostitute and owning a whorehouse. And that brings us to Cal, the one who cries out and shakes off everything and eventually subdues the evil after being tempted with evil, resisting it on the path of glory. Not exactly glory, but a good life. He resists his temptations and decides to go forward and proclaim himself past people and chooses his own destiny. Another big theme within the book. And he accepts that he can choose his own path between good and evil. I'm Tom Wallace.
Hi, my name is Odd Desai, and I'm going to talk to you about East of Eden. East of Eden has a really important moral struggle at the core of the book. The whole idea is that there is a battle between good and evil in every person, and every person has that moment where they think, have I done good or have I done ill? At the end of the book, Cal talks to his dad and is begging for his forgiveness. Adam says to Cal, Timshel, which means he may have the freedom to overcome his sin. Everyone has the freedom. If they do good or bad, they can overcome it, and that's what the original Bible was telling us. And that's what John Steinbeck is telling us.
Hello, my name is Scott Johnston, and I am the most interesting man in the world. Now, I know I usually take you through high-octane adventures, but today I'm going to be talking through the characters of East of Eden with you. Now, it's important to view the characters of East of Eden in three different groupings. We'll start with our first generation. This first generation consists of Charles and Adam Trask. Charles Trask is the first representation of Cain we have in our story. He's full of jealousy and contempt towards his brother when they're younger because he believes his brother receives more love from their father. Next, we go on to Adam Trask. Adam is an example of Abel in our story. He is full of innocence. He does not want to join the army and follow his father's will, as well as he doesn't necessarily love his father, but more of a respect. This innocence also prompts Adam to believe in an ideal picture of the world, and when he finds Kathy, love her for the ideal picture of her. But when she shoots him, it destroys him. Next, we move on to our move to Salinas. Now, our move to Salinas includes two characters, that of Kathy and Samuel Hamilton. Kathy is a representation of the serpent and Eve and sin in our story. She represents the serpent in the sense of prompting Eve to take a bite of the forbidden fruit, the antagonist of the story. She also represents Eve in the sense of how Eve, after taking the bite, brought sin onto our world. Kathy is pure evil. Next, we move on to Samuel Hamilton. Now, Samuel acts as a guide, not only to the people of Selinus, but also to Adam especially. He may not be rich in monetary value, but he is rich in wisdom. And with this wisdom, allows Adam to fully break from the spell after Kathy leaves him. Finally, we move on to our second generation, that of Cal and Aaron. Now, Lee is also included in this grouping. Lee is the servant of the Trasks, of Adam Trask. But when we first meet Lee in the move to Selinus, we see him as the pigged-in, stereotypical Chinese servant form. We don't fully see Lee as the true character he is until this second generation. He's stuck in hiding, but once he breaks through and we are able to see his intelligence, he acts as a mediator, especially between that of Cal and Aaron, but also between Samuel and Adam earlier in the story. We'll move on to Cal. Cal is our second representation of Cain in the story. He is troubled in the sense of he knows who his mother is, and he sees her blood in him as bad blood, and it takes a lot for him to get over that. He's continually battling a demon. The demon breaks free and shows his brother Aaron his mother, and in doing so, it destroys Aaron. He continues to be troubled until his father blesses him with the idea of Timshel, something that we'll come back to later in our info. Next, we have Aaron, the brother of Cal. He is our second representation of Abel. He also represents Adam. In the sense of Abel, he embodies the true ideals of Abel and even meets the same death or the same fate of death as Abel, though in Aaron's case, it was indirectly at his brother's hand. He also embodies the ideals of his father Adam in the sense of he's also very innocent, but creates an ideal picture of the world, not seeing reality for what it truly is. I thank you for joining me with this in-depth analysis of the characters of East and Eden, but now it's on to my next great adventure. So long.
Today on Crash Course, we're going to be learning about freshwater fishing. Wait, nope, that's not right. East of Eden. East of Eden is a multi-generational epic which takes place around the turn of the 19th century. The first of these generations consists of Cyrus Trask and his two sons, Adam and Charles. One day, a close-to-death woman shows up randomly on their doorstep, real coincidence, and the brothers take her in. The girl, Kathy, has a mysterious and mostly villainous past, unbeknownst to the brothers. Adam blindly falls in love with Kathy. And though Charles, who sees the reflected evil in her and hates her and doesn't trust her, Adam decides to marry her. Following their marriage, Adam decides that the two are going to move to Selinus. And despite Kathy's complaints, he forces the two to move out there. Soon thereafter, Kathy becomes pregnant, but she actually doesn't want the baby at all and tries to kill them. That's a story for another time. She eventually gives birth to twins, actually, and soon thereafter tells Adam she is going to leave him and that he can throw them down a well. When he tries to stop her, she tries to shoot him. So, yeah, she's a pretty reasonable person. Fruiting what happened to Kathy this whole time, she took over a whorehouse. She's doing well for herself. Cal eventually learns of Kathy's existence in his teenage years, but Aaron doesn't know about her. Aaron goes to college, and Cal also decides he wants to start raising money for his father, who recently lost a bunch of money in a cabbage incident. One night at family dinner, Cal presents this huge monetary gift to his father, and his father rejects it, kind of like Cyrus rejected Charles' gift earlier. He also tells Cal he would prefer a gift more like what Aaron gave him of going to college. Cal is heartbroken, and in his anger, introduces Aaron to his mother just to spite him, knowing Aaron will not take the news well. As Cal predicted, Aaron's world is shattered, and he rushes off to join the military without telling anyone. Eventually, the family finds out where Aaron went, and soon thereafter they learn of his death, giving Adam a stroke. Wrought with guilt for feeling like he has caused his brother, and soon father's death, which he pretty much did, Cal seeks forgiveness. In a final touching scene of the book, Adam, lying on his deathbed, tells Cal, Timshel, offering redemption and granting Cal the ability to forge a destiny not stained with his or his family's past actions.